Huge news as Ferrari reveals reason for slow pace. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more of the Ferrari news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is Ferrari is having big problems with their slow car. A few smiles broke out when Charles Leclerc's Ferrari race engineer responded to him over water in his cockpit during the Australian Grand Prix. However, a former F1 driver did not see the funny side of it, branding Brian Bozzi's reply a disgraceful way to react to his driver's concerns. Leclerc and teammate Lewis Hamilton finished 8th and 10th respectively on a difficult weekend for Ferrari in Melbourne. Ferrari's Australian Grand Prix weekend was shipwrecked after a serious problem with the SF25 car was discovered after practice, it has been claimed. A report in Italy has claimed that Ferrari discovered that the car was running too close to the ground in practice in Melbourne, with adjustments leaving the team running in a heavily compromised state for the remainder of the weekend. It has offered fresh hope that the F1 2025 season opener was not reflective of the true potential of the SF25. Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari debut was plagued by disqualification concerns, leading to the Formula One team's poor performance, according to reports in Italian media. Hamilton's Grand Prix debut with the Maranello outfit in Australia saw him finish the race down in 10th position, just picking up a single point in a performance that mirrored much of his 2024 season. But now, potential reasons have been given for that disappointing afternoon. Teammate Charles Leclerc could also only finish 8th himself, as Ferrari clearly struggled all weekend long with performance issues in comparison to McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull. Ferrari are hoping to challenge for their first title of any kind since 2008, with Hamilton moving to the most successful team in F1 history in the hopes of securing a record-breaking 8th World Championship. They report that the setup that was identified by the team in their simulator was incorrect and ran too close to the ground once the cars were on the track in Melbourne. While teams try and run as low to the ground as possible in the ground effect era, there are rules on how much the car can scrape along the ground, with Leclerc and Hamilton both being disqualified from the 2023 US GP for excessive wear on their skid blocks. With this in mind, the above publication suggests that Ferrari therefore changed their car setup for the weekend to avoid disqualification, hampering their performance, thus resulting in the slow race pace compared to their rivals. These reports also suggest that it is being seen as a serious problem for Ferrari with regards to the design of their new SF25. In the second story, Ferrari's performance at the Australian Grand Prix was far from what they had hoped for, with the Scuderia enduring a challenging season opener. The team currently sits 7th in the Constructors' Championship, trailing behind Sauber after Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton finished in 8th and 10th place respectively. Hamilton, making his much-anticipated debut for Ferrari, struggled throughout the race weekend. Before the team's pit stop blunder, he had already reported issues with the car, citing an unpredictable balance that prevented them from unlocking the full potential of the SF25. After such a disappointing outing, Ferrari will conduct a thorough review of their Melbourne performance, aiming to identify what went wrong and ensure a stronger showing in the upcoming Chinese Grand Prix. Reflecting on the difficult race, Leclerc acknowledged the team's struggles in Ferrari's official race review. "It was a tough race, and there are things we have to review and work on. We weren't the fastest out there, but in such weather conditions, there was a chance to score big points which we didn't capitalize on today." Team principal Fred Vasseur was candid in his assessment, admitting that Ferrari had made a critical mistake in their strategy. "We can't be happy with today's result as it doesn't match the potential of our car, and that means, as a team, we didn't do a good job," he stated. One of the key moments in Ferrari's troubled race was their decision to gamble on staying out on slick tires despite worsening track conditions. While Max Verstappen initially made the same choice, Red Bull quickly adjusted, pitting their driver before significant time loss. Ferrari, on the other hand, delayed their decision, leaving both Leclerc and Hamilton vulnerable. Vasseur admitted that staying out one lap too long cost them heavily, a miscalculation that turned a potential top 5 finish into a disappointing 8th and 10th. Hamilton expressed frustration over Ferrari's lack of pace compared to McLaren and Red Bull, emphasizing the need for improvement. Ferrari also struggled with consistency, as Leclerc led Friday's session but failed to maintain momentum in qualifying, with both Ferrari drivers qualifying 7th and 8th, over 6/10 behind pole sitter Norris. Vasseur acknowledged these struggles, stating, "First, in qualifying, we didn't put everything together, and I think our pace was much better than the result we got. Then today, the strategy was not easy. We made the wrong call at the end. Let's face it, we tried to stay out like Max, to survive with slicks when it started to rain because we thought, mistakenly, that the shower wasn't going to last that long. Had this worked out, it would have been lovely, but it didn't. That's it. We lost." Despite the disappointment, Ferrari is determined to bounce back. Vasseur emphasized that the team must focus on improving their decision-making process, rather than assigning blame. "We must not try and blame someone, but attempt to understand what went wrong in our decision-making system. The gamble was good, but we should have pitted one lap earlier, like Max." With only 5 points collected in the first race, Ferrari finds itself behind Williams, Aston Martin, and Sauber in the standings. However, Vasseur remains optimistic about the season ahead. "There are 23 races left, and we have to look forward. The pace we showed on Friday, be it on a qualifying lap or long runs, was good, and that's what we need to build our season on, not on a strategy call that wasn't the right one at the end of the race." One of the most puzzling aspects of Ferrari's struggles in Melbourne was the significant drop in performance from Friday to Saturday. Leclerc, who had looked strong in practice, suggested that the team had made a conscious but necessary choice that affected their qualifying speed. "I know why we lost pace, but it was a decision we had to make," he told Sky, hinting at a strategic compromise that may have been unavoidable. As Ferrari regroups ahead of the Chinese Grand Prix, all eyes will be on how they respond. Will they learn from their mistakes and refine their race strategy? Can Hamilton and Leclerc extract more from the SF25 and challenge Red Bull and McLaren? One thing is certain, Ferrari cannot afford many more missteps if they hope to contend for victories this season. In the third story, Lewis Hamilton's highly anticipated debut with Ferrari has been one of the most talked about moments of the Formula One season. For fans around the world, and especially for the passionate tifosi, seeing the 7-time world champion in the iconic red suit marked the beginning of a new chapter in F1 history. After years of dominance with Mercedes, Hamilton's move to Ferrari came with enormous expectations. Many believed he could be the key to ending the team's long-standing title drought. However, the Australian Grand Prix, his first official race with Ferrari, did not go as planned. From the outset, Hamilton faced difficulties. Starting from 8th on the grid, just behind his new teammate Charles Leclerc, he struggled to make significant progress during the race. A major issue was his prolonged battle with Alex Albon's Williams. Despite Ferrari's superior speed on paper, Hamilton found himself stuck behind the slower car for a significant portion of the race. This inability to overtake in crucial moments hindered his overall race strategy and contributed to a frustrating outing. Speaking about his experience, Hamilton admitted that confidence in the car was a major challenge. "From the moment I got in the car on Friday, I didn't have much confidence, especially at high speeds. On Saturday, confidence was coming back. I was building and building. Then we got to the race, and once again, it was like starting from scratch. I had no confidence, not even in the adjustments, and the car was very difficult to drive." Hamilton's struggles weren't limited to overtaking issues. Late in the race, his Ferrari sustained front-wing damage following an incident with Oscar Piastri, further complicating his performance. To make matters worse, Ferrari's strategy was far from perfect. As the weather at Albert Park continued to shift, both Ferrari drivers found themselves battling tire wear and poor grip. At one point, the team gambled by switching to dry tires on a still damp track, a move that cost them valuable track position. As a result, Hamilton could only manage a disappointing 10th-place finish, a stark contrast to the high expectations surrounding his Ferrari debut. One of the most talked-about aspects of the race was Hamilton's radio exchanges with his race engineer, Riccardo Adami. His frustration was evident, and former F1 driver turned pundit Martin Brundle did not hesitate to call attention to it. Writing in his Sky Sports F1 column, Brundle questioned Hamilton's attitude toward his engineer. "I don't understand why Lewis was so angsty with Riccardo Adami, who I felt was simply trying to pass over relevant and helpful information," Brundle remarked. "It all really fell apart for Ferrari when they rolled the dice on dry tires on a wet track and lost out heavily on track position for both drivers. They left Australia 7th in the championship, which is not where they wanted to be." Brundle's critique did not stop there. He was particularly disappointed with Hamilton's overall performance, emphasizing that a driver of his caliber should have delivered a much stronger result. Starting 8th behind his teammate Leclerc, losing ground at the first corner, spending what felt like an eternity behind Albon's Williams,